you have to understand is that in all human societies, time is used for the whole gamut of human activity, and it's collaborative, it's interactive. We've become atomized, along with being slaves to the clock. We've also become, in many ways, atomized individuals. So to reconnect with, if you like, what we sometimes project as a more natural time, which is actually not that, but with maybe different choices of time, which don't lock us into the kind of work time mode. Maybe at the same time we need to be thinking about how we engage with others in experiencing time differently. So not just kind of suffering as individuals with time routines and schedules and missed deadlines, but beginning to kind of open out to other people.
What I find probably as much as industrialization prior to that is the development of cities and cities dealing with each other, merchants between cities needing time. But what we also tend to forget is what we now suffer from, travel, which may not be so precise, the fact that steam trains came in, that travel was more and more, that quicker and quicker, got us to a standardization of time, which we take for granted now. It's not that long ago, it's just about over 100 years or so, that every little place had its own time. And that was perfectly all right. We get, if something appears to be slower, we get there often in exactly the same amount of time. It's just that we're constantly thinking we need to be quicker, because that's what we grew up with. That's what we're told for all sorts of reasons. You know, early bird catches the worm kind of thing. These kind of inbred aspects of our lives.
Entering on the practice of music over a lifetime, for which has no practical application whatsoever, and results in nothing apart from death. Now, musicians don't have any problem with this. It's what we do. And our models are musicians who've entered on this kind of modelling of a life. So I don't think that necessarily you have to be under pressure from it. It is a choice, and if you choose, like artists do, to take that choice and to not achieve anything creatively for a very long time, then, because I don't have this feeling of panic and rush.
Can you give us an example of how, perhaps as listeners, music can alter our perceptions of time, can perhaps create a different sense of time, can play with time? Could you show us?
Well, I'll talk through something very quickly. Shut me up if it's, just say stop!
Try that, don't you?
So I'll fiddle around with the thing. There was a crazy composer called Locatelli, who was also indulging in alchemy. He's an Italian composer from Bergamo, which has one of the most fantastic sundial clocks ever in it. But he ended up trying to achieve the Philosopher's Stone in Amsterdam. And he wrote this piece, which I want you to observe. I wouldn't normally say this to an audience, but the relationship between speed, trajectory, development, and physical processes. And it's so much not music, but it's what it looks like and what happens. So I'll play, see how I get. hogwash, right? You do one thing, you repeat it, you then do it a bit up, so there's a bit of material that long, you repeat it, then you take it up a fifth, you repeat that. You stretch that out a bit longer so it becomes verticalized, you repeat it, you take that up a fifth, you repeat it, then you go back to the first key, you stretch it out almost 3 octaves. So the material has become this big, this has started to happen. Then you stretch it out over actually a stretch of 4 octaves, and so you're there. Right? And then you stay up there for a little while, and then you go back to the beginning again, and an odd thing has happened. It's a physical experience, and every time I do it, I'm struck by it. You play the material from the beginning at a double speed. The processes are running at double speed, but it feels slower. Right? And then we start eating our tail. That happens exactly on the golden section of the piece. I can't resist pointing that out. And then the piece starts to eat its own tail, and you notice the coda is it takes the paradigm of the whole arc and gobbles it up. Now, when you get to the top of the material, I'll show you something.
I hope you're following on this.
Okay, we're there. Okay, watch this. So when the climax, the bottom material starts to find its way to the top. So there's another arch, mirroring the big arch of the piece, happening inside. So we get big this, and then lots of little arches, and one big arch which sucks up from inside. Now, of course, what I love about this is there's a brutal truth. Here we have the composer sitting there, he's actually heating up with stone like this. He's trying to get to the star regulars or whatever it is, okay? And what does he end up with at the end? A burnt piece of material, a piece of crud, which is even more useless than he began with. But it's the doing it. But I love the fact that there's no difference in that piece between speed and stasis. That's the ultimate static piece of music. It goes in our end as our beginning. It's completely that. So that's, it's a trick, and a very crude one. But it does another interesting thing, which we've always talked about, the heart. Because it's very difficult for me to take even breaths while I play that. So as I get towards the middle of it, my heart rate goes up. And then, of course, that means that the relationship between adrenaline and lactosis changes, and my perceptions change a lot. And that's quite alarming. And you can imagine, I could think, well, perhaps I shouldn't play that piece if I had a heart condition, because of the results. But the last thing I wanted to say was, when the metronome was invented by a mechanical instrument maker and toy maker, Maidzel, Jefferson, who was a very keen amateur musician, saw the details of this and thought, I don't know how to buy that. And he published his little, wrote it in his notebook. The solution he came up with the metronome was to put nails into the wall, and then put a piece of string, and then a weight. And so if you wanted to do presto, you had a very short piece of string and allowed so it went like this. And if it was very slow, it was a long piece of string. But the funny thing is that what Jefferson had come up with was time that looks like this, as opposed to time that is that. And that's a fundamental difference. It's a massive difference. Because where's the beat? I mean, is it every orchestra has to learn with a conductor whether it's going to be there, or is it somewhere in the middle of this? So